On a February morning in 1508, a farmer in the Yorkshire Dales walked to the mill and found a bowl of porridge still warm on the table. Frost clung to the oats. A candle had burned to a stub. Outside, his horse waited in the stable, untethered, calm. The miller himself was gone. The baker, the blacksmith, the priest, 37 other souls, all vanished between sunset and dawn. No blood, no bodies, no footprints leading away. This is the story of a village that simply ceased to exist, and the document that survived to haunt us. The settlement was called Wyke, nestled in a shallow valley 12 miles south of York. 13 households, 43 residents. They were tenant farmers, a miller, a blacksmith, and a priest named Father Aldred. Tax records from 1507 describe them as quiet, industrious, and prompt with payments. The village owned 3 goats, a dozen chickens, 2 pigs, and a stone church dedicated to St. Cuthbert. The local lord, Sir Robert Foss, noted nothing unusual until February 2, 1508, when his steward arrived to collect winter dues and found the village standing, but silent.
Sir Robert Stewart described the scene in a letter to the Bishop of York. Every fire had gone cold. Every door stood open. Meals sat abandoned on wooden trenchers, mutton, turnips, bread. A child's wooden horse lay in the dirt of the main path. In the church, the chalice remained on the altar, but Father Aldred's vestments were gone, and a heavy iron lock had been placed on the vestry door. The lock was unusual. Priests did not lock their vestments. The steward's final note was peculiar. The silence was not empty, it was deliberate.
A search party combed the surrounding moors for 3 days. They found nothing. No bodies, no graves, no trail. The livestock remained. Goats grazed in the same field where they had grazed the day before. Chickens wandered the village square. The 2 pigs had eaten the porridge left in the abandoned bowls. The villagers' clothes hung in their homes. Their tools rested in workshops. Their children's toys sat on bedroom floors. It was as if every person had simply stood up and walked into nothing.
The bishop dispatched a canon to investigate. His report, preserved in the York Minster archives, concluded that Wyke had been struck by a pestilence of the spirit, an early form of mass hysteria or religious frenzy. The canon noted that Father Aldred had been prone to visions in his final months. A simpler explanation was also considered. The Black Death had returned, and the villagers had fled in terror, abandoning everything. But no plague pits were found. No bodies lay along the roads. No neighboring village reported refugees from Wyke.
3 anomalies haunted the investigation. First, a single footprint found in soft earth near the village well. It was large, unshod, and deeply pressed, as if the owner had been carrying extreme weight. Second, a symbol carved into the well's stone rim, visible only when the water level dropped. The symbol resembled a closed eye surrounded by rays. The third anomaly was the lock on Father Aldred's vestry door. When investigators finally forced it open, they found only an empty chest, but scratches on the interior lid suggested something had been removed, a document perhaps deliberately hidden. The accepted explanation for centuries was simple: plague fear. England had experienced recurring outbreaks of sweating sickness, a mysterious and rapid disease, in the decades before Wyke's disappearance. The villagers, terrified, might have fled in the night to ports or monasteries. The locked vestry was Father Aldred's precaution against theft during chaos. The strange symbol was dismissed as medieval superstition, a ward against evil. Yet no contemporary record mentions refugees from Wyke arriving anywhere. No monastery noted an influx. No port recorded 43 passengers bound for elsewhere.
In 1843, workers restoring St. Cuthbert's Church uncovered a hidden chamber behind the altar. Inside lay a leather-bound notebook, waterlogged and partially legible. The writing was Father Aldred's. The The final entry was dated February 1st, 1508, the night before the village emptied. It read, "They came from the north, not men, not beasts. I have locked away what I found in the old place beneath the hill. God forgive me for what I must do." The entry ended mid-sentence. The notebook's first pages, which might have explained everything, had been deliberately torn out.
What if Wyke was not abandoned? What if its residents were taken? The archaeological record offers no bodies, no violence, but the medieval mind understood disappearance differently than we do. Folklore across Yorkshire spoke of the good neighbors, fairies who lured humans into the hills, returning years later with no memory of their former lives. Father Aldred's journal suggests he believed something tangible had emerged from beneath the hill. Perhaps he led his congregation to confront it, and perhaps they followed it willingly or otherwise into whatever waited below. Today, Wyke exists only as crop marks visible from aircraft, shadows in wheat fields outlining former buildings. Ground-penetrating radar has revealed the village's full layout, including a structure beneath the church that does not appear on any historical map. The landowner has repeatedly refused excavation requests. The notebook remains in the Yorkshire archive, its secrets partially obscured by centuries of decay. Here is what remains unexplained. A village emptied without violence, a priest who locked away something discovered beneath the earth, and 43 people who left no trace of where they went. Next week on Phantom Atlas, the lighthouse keeper who vanished while the light stayed burning, and the single sentence found carved into his kitchen wall.